Good morning, Iowa City Association of Realtors. My name is Kayla Fisher, and I am your co-host of Wake Up with YPN. I'm really excited to be joining you on this Monday morning because we've got an awesome topic for you that we all have to deal with here before the end of the year, and that is our errors and omissions insurance. Joining us today, we have Amanda Groft, a claims supervisor with Rice Insurance, who's going to help share all of the information that you need to know to be prepared going into next year. Good morning, Amanda.
Hi, good morning, Kayla.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning and being ready to share with us all the information about errors and omissions insurance. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and your role with Rice?
Yes, so I am one of 8 adjusters at Rice, and I have been with Rice now for going on 4 years. Prior to that, I was a civil litigator for about 10 years at a small plaintiff's firm. And the unique thing about Rice is that we sell the policies to our licensees, and if later on any claims are made against those licensees, we actually handle the claims as well.
Okay, that is unique. And can you tell us a little bit about Rice and kind of what their role is?
Yes, so we issue the policy. So we like when during enrollment time, if you have questions about what coverages you should purchase, like add-ons to the basic policy, you're likely going to be transferred to one of us, one of the adjusters, to walk you through that, to discuss what type of coverage you may need, answer any questions that you may have as far as what the basic policy covers. And then if you find yourself, having a claim made against you at some point, you're also going to call us and talk to one of the adjusters about how to handle that.
Right. And you mentioned basic coverages. Can you give us a quick summary of what E&O insurance is and why it's important for agents to carry it?
Yes, so of course it's mandated by state law that you carry it. So
that's a big part, yes.
Other than that, though, E&O insurance is a professional malpractice insurance policy. And what it insures is negligence or mistakes that occur during the course of your professional services as a real estate agent or broker. That is what the basic policy will cover.
And then why is it important to understand your own policy and then those add-ons that you mentioned?
So the basic policy will cover your acts as a real estate agent or broker. And you need to know what that basic policy covers, because you may be engaging in activities that aren't covered under the basic policy, like property management, possibly, or if you are buying and selling property, flipping them, that may not be covered under the basic policy. That may require an additional add-on or endorsement to your basic policy so that you're also insured for those acts as well.
Great tip there. And what constitutes a claim? Like, when would someone use their insurance policy, or what are some common claims against real estate agents that you're seeing in today's market?
So under the basic policy through Rice, and now this may differ with other insurance carriers and their policies, but a claim under the Rice policy is a written demand or service of a lawsuit, institution of arbitration or mediation proceedings that alleges a negligent act, error, or omission in the performance or failure to perform professional services and seeks damages. So the key thing for the Rice policy is that it's a written demand, something in writing you receive. Now, that could be a text message, it could be an email, it could be a letter from a disgruntled buyer or seller or their attorney. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lawsuit. But verbal demands or verbal threats that, hey, agent, you did something wrong and I'm going to sue you, is not going to constitute a claim under the Rice policy. But we have what's called circumstance reporting. So if you have something like that where okay, it may not meet the definition of a claim, I can still notify my carrier, or I want to call Rice and let them know about it. You can do that. and we will open up a file. And while it may not be an active claim yet, if a claim is later made against you, we'll review it under that policy period in which you reported it to us. So
That's good to know.
We're always available. Anytime you think you might have a claim or there's a potential claim and you want to notify us of it, you're free to do that.
That's a really good tip. And speaking of claims, what are some common ones that you're seeing against real estate agents here in this market?
So in Iowa specifically, I have noticed a large number of claims that deal with misrepresenting the property as being on sewer or connected to sewer, but it's really on septic. That's a huge one I see over and over again. Non-disclosure of defects is another big one, or misrepresenting that repairs have been made prior to closing, and post-closing buyer comes in and finds out that they weren't either repaired or they weren't repaired properly.
And it's okay if you can't, are you able to give any suggestions on things that you find the agents were doing in the instance that maybe they could consider doing differently out in practice to cover themselves from that?
Yes. So I know in Kentucky, in our jurisdiction, there is some website that you can research to determine whether or not a property is actually on sewer or septic. And I'm not sure if Iowa has that resource or not, but that's a good idea to do your own research and verify whether or not the property may actually be on septic or sewer. Also, if you're in doubt at all, err on the side of disclosure. Over disclose versus under disclose.
Yes, disclose is always the top 3 rules.
Yes.
When it comes to that, and I think you're right about getting our information from our official sources. Don't trust our own knowledge, because I know there are quite a few neighborhoods here in the Iowa City area where all the rest of the homes are on the regular city sewer and city water, but there's a few pocket neighborhoods that are hidden in there that are on septic, and you would never know it unless you asked the right questions and did your research from official sources. While we're going here, I just want to set a quick shout out to any of our viewers going live. If you have any questions for Amanda, now's your time to ask them. So pop those in the comments, and here at the end of our video, we'll get to them. So what happens, Amanda, when a claim is filed against an agent or a broker? How would a client go about making that claim, and what would the agent do?
So this may differ, of course, between different carriers, but Rice has on our website a form called a notice of claim form, and it asks basic information about the transaction, the parties involved, the property address, the agent's role in the transaction, whether they were on the listing side or the buying side. And you attach whatever it is you're wanting us to review for coverage, that written demand, that text message, email, lawsuit, whatever it is. You can also call us. We're available. Any of our adjusters are available to walk you through whether something may be a claim or whether you should report something formally to us. But that is generally how you would handle that. Either call us or submit that online form, letting us know what the claim is and the information around that transaction.
Okay, and then what is the process of that claim from there?
So we would assign an adjuster who, once they're assigned, makes contact within the first 24 business hours. And they determine coverage. They may need additional information from the insured, the real estate agent or broker, to determine coverage. So they may ask for some follow-up documentation regarding the transaction, like the purchase agreement, any inspection report, if there were any. And then if it's a covered claim, and depending on the type of claim it is, we may retain defense counsel to represent the real estate agent or broker. If it's a commission complaint, those are a little bit different. They're not necessarily claims, but they have a very short turnaround as far as a response time to the commission. So we require that those be reported to us within 20 days of the licensee's first notice of that. And so we hire defense counsel, and then we talk with defense counsel about strategy and whether we think there may be liability to the insured for whatever's being alleged. We look at the damages that are being alleged, and then we come up with a plan for resolution, whether that be entering settlement negotiations, completing formal discovery, and maybe filing a motion with the court to get the case dismissed. If it's just a written demand letter, the adjuster may actually respond on their own to the attorney or to the claimant themselves, either denying liability or making an offer to try and resolve the claim for the licensee.
Okay, that all makes sense, and it sounds really simple as you're explaining it, but I'm sure that if I was the agent in that position, I would be on the phone trying to have you re-explain that to me all over again. But thank you for the brief understanding of kind of how that process would work if we were in that situation. And you mentioned that's how it would flow if it was a covered claim. Now, what would happen if a claim was denied, and what are some reasons that might happen?
A big reason that I see over and over again for claims being denied is for late reporting or having some type of prior knowledge that a claim may be made against the licensee later on that they don't report to us, or if it deals with some type of allegation or matter that is generally covered by another insurance policy. For example, our policy excludes coverage for bodily injury and property damage claims. That is typically covered under a general liability policy.
Mm-hmm.
So that would possibly be another reason for disclaimer, is if the allegations include something that are specifically excluded under our policy. And again, ours is a negligence policy. We don't cover fraud or any kind of intentional acts. If there's an allegation of fraud and negligence, that doesn't mean we're going to deny coverage just because fraud's alleged. We would probably just reserve rights on the fraud allegation, meaning that we don't cover fraud, but because there's a negligence allegation, we're going to go ahead and provide a defense to you and cover that part of the claim.
Gotcha. That makes complete sense. Oh, it looks like we have a question. If you've had to use your E&O insurance, is there a way to add additional or higher coverage?
Yes, there is. We do offer in Iowa 2 higher limits endorsements. The basic policy has $100,000 per claim and $100,000 in the aggregate limits of liability. So you could have 10 claims in 1 year, but the most the carrier is ever going to pay in 1 year is $100,000. We do have 2 add-ons. I believe it's for $250 and $500.
Okay, good to know. And is that something that needs to be added on at the beginning of the year, or can you change mid-year?
So it's guaranteed issue at the beginning of the year, meaning that the carrier will automatically issue any endorsements that you've purchased at the beginning of the year prior to the start of the individual policy period on January 1st. If you wanted to add on other coverages later on in the year, you do that by request. And the carrier does not have to honor the request, although they typically do here.
Okay, good to know. Oh, we have another question this morning. Can an agent carry multiple policies from different providers, and does that avoid or supplement other policies?
Yes, they can have multiple policies, and it does not void your coverage through Rice if you were to be insured with another carrier. What that means is that you may have 2 carriers providing coverage to you on one claim.
Okay. Perfect. There's the answer to that one. I don't know if we have any other questions coming in, but I think that you've done a great job here in just under 15 minutes of giving us a good overview of what E&O insurance is, why we need to have it for one, and why we want to have it, and also kind of what the process would look like if we ever did have to use it. Is there any other things that you would like to cover at this point that we've missed, or that you'd like to share with our viewers?
The biggest thing that I would say is that mistakes happen, and that is what your insurance is for. I have had several conversations with an insured who I'm handling a claim for, and their first comment to me is, I've been doing this for 25, 35, 45 years, and I've never had a claim filed against me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't have to do anything wrong to have a claim filed against you. You could do everything right in a transaction, but there's going to be a disgruntled buyer or seller at some point that may decide to sue everyone. As soon as you get wind that either you made a mistake and you want to put your insurance carrier on notice, you can do that without penalty. It's a group policy. The premiums are the same for everyone, no matter if you've had 0 claims or 10. We don't increase your premiums. We're not going to cancel your coverage if you have a claim made against you. We don't report anything to the commission if you have a claim made against you. We very much want our insureds to know that we're here and available if there's ever any questions about whether something may be covered, or if they realize I've made a mistake. We've got buyer and seller who are really mad. The whole deal's about to fall through. Maybe I should call my insurance company, but I don't want them to think bad of me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it is. We cover mistakes. That's what errors and omissions insurance is.
Perfect. Okay, and then wrapping up with one last question, is there anything to consider as many of us are renewing our coverage for next year, given the court decisions made in recent months?
That is something that we have discussed here in the office at Rice. I've actually gotten calls from several licensees about that. In terms of what you are purchasing or enrolling in for next year, the biggest thing I can say is if you are dealing in high dollar properties, you should think about buying a higher limits endorsement. Because the damages alleged in those types of transactions are going to be significantly higher than a lower dollar property. And also the biggest thing too, I will say, is make sure that whatever activities you are engaging in, that you have the proper coverage for that. If you're a builder or developer, I can tell you there will never be coverage under the Rice policy for that. That is a separate builder's insurance policy. But there may be other things that you want to do as a real estate licensee that you could buy an additional coverage for.
Perfect. And it sounds like if anyone has any questions on the coverages they should sign up for going into the new year, they should give Rice a call and they'll be directed to either you, Amanda, or one of your other claim supervisors to help discuss the individual needs and kind of what coverages are available for each individual agent.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Like I said, you provided us a wealth of knowledge here in just over now 15 minutes, which is really helpful to keep everyone in our association educated and up to date on what they should know. And as you mentioned, everybody needs to renew their E&O insurance here in the next few weeks. And so this is a great reminder for everyone to go ahead and get those coverages ready to go. And thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us this morning. We really appreciate your time and sharing all of your knowledge with us.
Well, thank you, Kayla. I appreciate you guys having me back.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.